Welcome to Tell Me How Good It Got, stories of women who defied the rules and ditched the script for what life's supposed to look and came out healthier, happier, hotter, and more themselves. I'm your host, Majo Torelli, Oxford grad and Samadhi coach, and today I'm so excited to have with me Candia Raquel.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, Candia. Candia is a Mexican sensualist, scientist, and artist devoted to helping workaholics overcome inhibition and embody sensual pleasure through somatic movement. I am over the moon to have her because she's an amazing woman. I know that the script you ditched was no pain, no gain, but I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. I used to abide by the no pain, no gain mantra. I have a very framed background as both a ballet dancer and a scientist. So, especially in my formative years, I had to endure to be very young, to be very masculine energy, to be very strict in my thinking and my doing and persevering and pushing forward and competing and against women and men and coming on top. And furthermore, I then combined these two passions, the study of anatomy as a biologist and movement and expression as a dancer, into Pilates. And I became a Pilates teacher trainer. And then I went for more. I got the single franchise for my country, for Mexico, in the whole country, from the biggest Pilates brand. And I made school. I devoted over a decade in providing Pilates teacher trainings and also develop a branch to provide movement and wellness services for the Mexican government in the judiciary. And all of that was good and Gucci, and I had a great time. And that was a great way of getting what I wanted until I fell from the stairs. And one of the deep core muscles, the psoas major from my left side, got detached from my spine, from my lumbar vertebrae. And I still have a piece of muscle hanging from my spine loose. And it was the same to bypass surgery than to going for the procedure because it was already an irreversible damage. So one day I had to face head on this belief of no pain, no gain, of, yeah, I can conquer it all as long as I can push through the pain. Because that one day I found myself teaching a module of the Pilates teacher training, sitting in a chair because of the injury, and I was completely disabled. So I was teaching 20, 30-year olds how to do the 100 abdominal crunches sitting on a chair. And it was like I interpreted as a humiliation and as a frustration because me as a teacher, I should be the one to give the example. And I grabbed all my courage and my strength and my willpower and my pride. And I said, you have gone through hell. So you have to be able to stand up and give the example as a teacher that doesn't matter your injury, you're going to show up and demonstrate. And I couldn't. I tried, and I'm strong internally and externally, but pain set me back down. It was like no concessions. Pain doesn't care how strong you think you are, like physical pain and also emotional pain can be disabled. So I faced a wall there. And instead of being a humiliating experience, it was for my old self. But in that moment, I faced my fragility, my vulnerability, my limits. And I got a spoonful of an important lesson called humbleness. I was humbled by pain. And then I just gave myself permission to give up because that was a battle I couldn't win. And when I leaned back, I kind of surrendered and wiggled a little bit, screamed a little bit, and found a certain angle in my body where I could at least breathe, where it was least painful. And it's almost like when you have a bad menstrual cramp or when you have wake up with a cramped shoulder and you're like, I can exist in this precise angle, like don't move me, don't touch me, let me be here in this precise angle. So I kind of like curled into this angle and I could breathe there. And the class went on and the day went on. And the more I let go, the more I let my chair support me, the more I could find more space inside, find more freedom in that cage that disability was. I found solace. And then something very interesting happened. I discovered that breathing had this cadence of rhythm that is and it was a whole revelation of how breathing could actually be pleasurable. Me in my corner in the precise angle of no pain, I was like, okay, I can breathe and this actually feels good. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to get up. And no, pain sat me back down. But little by little, I followed pleasure as a North Star, as my guide. Like, okay, I know that I am safe to move a little bit further as long as it's pleasurable. That's the way I know I am threading into a journey where I can go further along the way. And then I start to move. And by moving, I relearned a way to stand up from a chair and I relearned a way to walk and I relearned a way to live that was not only pain free, but that was pleasurable. And actually, the condition for it to be pain free was for it to be pleasurable. And that's how I recovered from disabling injury. And I say recovered, quote unquote, because it's an irreversible damage that I have. So, fact is, I will never heal from that injury. It's broken. But it's almost like the kintsugi, Japanese concept of a
Yeah.
broken vessel that you put the pieces
Well,
together with a golden suture. So, in a
yeah.
way, pleasure has been that golden suture. Like, I am still broken. And also, I have like emotional wounds that will never heal that have no more point to talk about them because it's the same experience. That actually the way to go is no pain. Actually, no pain, all gain. And my whole identity shifted because even today, if I relapse into pushing and forcing myself to do the dishes after 13 hours of working in the computer straight and being completely tired, and my tendency is to go over the top, to overexert myself and to over deliver. And then I catch myself and I start to feel almost like an omen of you're heading right to pain. And then I have to stop myself and to check in. Okay, I disconnected from pleasure hours ago, sometimes days ago, and I am following the wrong path that I know where it leads to a wall, the wall that you can no longer go further because you're facing this pain. And for me, it was a whole revelation that actually led to a radical career shift from having many Pilates studios. I had 3 studios to closing them, selling the Pilates equipment, completely rebranding to a brand devoted on supporting women to come back to the pleasure in their bodies and embody sensuality. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's so inspiring on so many levels and so many things that I would like to pick up on. Because, first of all, well, thank you for sharing. That's such a brave, beautiful story, Candia. And I really love many things you said, but maybe my favorite one is the one of having pleasure as your North Star. That is so counterculture for everyone, I think. And I was actually going to ask you when you started talking about how no pain, no gain led you to that point. My question was going to be how then what's the reverse? That's the rule, the script you ditched. What is your new mantra? And I love it that is no pain, all gain in this day and age and in this world. And I think for most women, that's very difficult. When you say you catch yourself in those moments of I'm outside of pleasure. Maybe it was an hour ago, or maybe it was days ago that I disconnected. What are the signs in your body? And what is it? How do you know that you are disconnected from your pleasure? And how do you get back in?
And how do you get back in? So I want to elaborate a little bit on what you said before on that. It's challenging for women, and I feel the biggest myth we need to break in regards to pleasure is this idea that we have to put everyone else first as caregivers, because that's what we have been raised to historically. And also because there's an important biological factor on this caregiving tendency, because if you don't take care of a newborn as a mother, the newborn is not going to make it till the next day. So whether you're a mother or perhaps you identified with another gender, but you are biologically two X chromosomes in your whole body, so you have a feminine DNA, you still have this huge evolutive blessed drive to put the newborn first and put yourself second. The problem is that that's only a moment in the lifeline of a woman motherhood, and especially those moments where the mother has to be all in for the children. But other than that, like, it's important for us to reclaim our first our being as self, and then our womanness, and then place in the next level motherhood if you're a woman, and not let this little thing of being a caregiver take over your whole identity, because great part of patriarchy has built upon this. So women are supposed to give more, like earning 80% than what a man makes. So we are expected to give that 20% of the worth of our work or whatever. So I feel that's very important to at least get curious on how much have you internalized this caregiving role and had led to putting yourself second. And the problem is that in the moment that you put yourself second, you actually put yourself last. So then you find yourself, like me, working 13 hours straight and then wanting to do the dishes, because the dishes are the second priority and I come later on. But after the dishes, you need to fold the laundry, or you need to be there for your bestie that is in a crisis, and etc. So I feel it's very important to reclaim yourself with a capital S, to take ownership of your self. And I mean it in a completely practical and biological way. Reclaim the ownership of your body, because men, even husbands, feel entitled to your body. And then if it's not your husband or your partner or a baby, then we put in that place the job or the causes or whatever. And at the same time, it's the same, putting ourselves last. So I would say, therefore, that the reverse mantra of no pain, no gain, that is being pain fueled and masculine fuel and yang fuel, would be let your body have the last word and let pleasure be your North Star. Meaning, if I feel that I am tired, and period. I am gonna rest. And if I feel that I am not feeling much in my body, then that's like a yellow flag, like a sign of alert that, okay, I am losing touch with myself. So finally, to answer your question on which are some symptoms of being disconnected from pleasure, I feel first off is the presence of pain, because you cannot have pain and pleasure at the same time. Those are different modus operandi in the nervous system and the brain at a survival level. If something is painful, means that you have to run away from that. The tiger is biting you, or you are having your hand burned in the stove. You need to get away. So that's the first indicator and the clearest. And oftentimes we only remember that we have a body when we are already in the emergency room. So sometimes we only remember to feel when we are already feeling pain. So that's the most critical point, but where we often are. Or when you're tired, when you're feeling like a mild stomachache or headache, that's a clear sign that you're off. And the second that is harder to notice is numbness. You gotta feel that you're not feeling. And it's a good question. Like, am I feeling pain somewhere? Okay, no, that's good. Because if you have pain, you need to act on it immediately. And then, okay, I don't feel pain, but I don't feel pleasure either. So, okay, I am numbed. I am disconnected. I am inhibited, talking neurologically. And this is also called in somatic movement neuromuscular amnesia. Like we forgot how to sense ourselves. And yeah, it's important, I feel, to do regular check ins to yourself to see where you're at. Like, okay, am I doing bad? Am I experiencing pain? Well, act on it. Or, okay, maybe I am okay and that's okay, but it's just having your meets end. And the
Yeah.
thing is to tap into pleasure. And the thing about pleasure, especially for women, is that we have also a very strong myth, and even more than a myth, it's like a determination upon us against pleasure, especially if you are from a culture like me in Mexico, where Catholicism is very strong and pleasure is connected to sin. And if you indulge in pleasure, you're not gonna see it as a North Star, you're gonna see it as your ticket straight to hell.
Yeah. Being a bad
Because
girl.
yeah, because pleasure is bad, sinful, and the devil. So again, it's important to question and then not to try to force yourself pleasure. It's important to have the self consent to open up to pleasure. And I feel the best like reminder mantra that one can have when we are out of nowhere feeling guilty for doing nothing and just enjoying yourselves and existing is to understand that pleasure is just another word for health.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. And we
Mm.
take it for granted until we find ourselves with pain in the emergency room. But being healthy is pleasurable and it's a given. Being alive means being healthy. If you are in pain and get sick, you're heading on to death. So
Yeah.
pleasure is therefore life affirming and it's the experience of health itself. It's nuanced. It's not like, oh, the I don't know, the Manolo Blahnik shoes and the vacations in the Bahama with the babe and the boat. That's excitement and has
Mm.
to do with a certain tone of emotions and thinking about success and etc. But pleasure is not an emotion, it's not a thought. Pleasure is a physical sensation, the same as pain. And pleasure is how health feels like. So I believe that's why it's so important to come back in touch with your body, to practice embodiment, so you can really be aware of how those being healthy feels like. And you have more touch points in your awareness to nurture your health. Yeah, you need to water it. You need to keep eating healthy foods and doing healthy movement and drinking healthy drinks in order to stay healthy. And I believe that doing this reframe of pleasure to health is very important to begin to getting in touch with sensuality that has two aspects. The first one is to sensing pleasure. Feels good to be healthy. Feels good to drink a glass of water. Feels good to sense how I'm doing my hair and sense the softness of the hair and sense the fabrics of your clothes brushing against your skin. And the second component of sensuality is expressing that pleasure, like, this is so delicious, this arepa, I want another one.
Well, I really want to highlight that because that's I think my favorite definition of health that I've ever heard. Pleasure is what health feels like. I have never thought about it that way, and it really resonates. And of course, like you say, it's because we have this very extravagant idea sometimes of what pleasure is, and we think it's hedonist and just very indulgent in a sinful way, almost like you say, or just in a naughty way, or in a way that's the thing you have to work hard for, or you get to have once in a while if you work hard enough. And I think you mentioned this earlier, and it also comes to my body now, the memory of it. You were saying about your breath and how you realized just breathing was so pleasurable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So pleasurable. And I think it's just we take those things for granted. I mean, and I invite anyone listening to have a sensual moment with themselves of just breathing and seeing how pleasurable it can feel to literally inhale and exhale. And that's because that's health, right? Because you're alive. That's what it's all about. I love that so much. Thank you, Candia. And in this contrast, in the Candia you were before, the no pain, no gain Candia versus now, the no pain, all gain Candia, what is being a successful, quote unquote, a successful woman? What was it back then and what is it now? What's that look like for you or mean or feel like?
Being a successful, sensual woman
Yeah.
has to do with delighting in the journey instead of getting yourself burnout in the journey on the way to achieving the goal. So actually, you become more successful and you become badder, bigger, and meaner if you do the things in a sensual way. The new Candia knows better. She learned the lesson that the secret to success is to enjoy doing a great job. It's not enough to do a great job. You gotta enjoy doing it. And that means that you develop the refinement and discernment to improve the process so the journey is a delight. And
Right.
therefore, you get the immediate dopamine hit, you get the immediate satisfaction of reward of and satisfaction in every step of the way instead of procrastinating and postergating and delaying pleasure to the end. Because if you suffered along the way, the moment that you get to the goal, you are not gonna experience pleasure. You're gonna experience relief only. Like when you go to the hospital and then they take away the pain, that's what you're gonna feel if you get to the mountaintop on that way. Whereas if you thread your way through the difficulties, through the challenges, but being embodied in every moment, then getting there will be life affirming. It won't be a thing about heroic martyrdom. It would be a celebrating of unfolding and becoming step by step the you that could create that success. And that's what Chechensky, this great researcher, explained about the state of flow, that you need to be very careful on the measure of the challenge and your ability. So it's very important that you do something that you can do, but that's not too easy. So you can stay curious and motivated on getting there, but that is not too hard that you have to sacrifice yourself in the way, which is a great mistake in our current hustle culture of martyrdom and self punishment and sacrifice that is ultimately unproductive because you see the CEOs, not all of them, but many of them burnt out, or the people in the factories burnt out, the people in the offices burnt out, our health burnt out, natural resources burnt out, ecology burnt out, climate crisis. It's part of this same mindset. And I feel it's very important to come back to the basics, to the here now. Like, yes, we want to be forward oriented, successful businesswoman, independent, and also have the counterpart of what actually builds success, threading moment by moment. And a nice way to put an image to this is a cheetah hunting. Like you see how they move sensually and quietly, sensing themselves, sensing the environment, the wind, so the antelope doesn't smell her. And they are in a state of awareness, not of pushing, not of hustling, not of hurry, but of complete presence here now, complete embodiment, complete connection. And then they have the available potency of the timing of, okay, this is the moment to sprint, and then they sprint, and then they go get it. And it's an expression of predatory sensuality, but it's our true nature. You see great martial artists. You see even great CEO. I mean, the Tim Cook, the CEO from Apple, he wakes up like at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And the first thing he does is he works out 1 hour and a half. So he lives from his body and from presence.
Yeah, I won't be waking up at that time ever because my body let away, won't let me. But wow, I love that image of the sensual, predatory. And it's interesting that it brings to mind this question of if it doesn't bring you pleasure, what are you even doing it for? And that's, very, again, very counterculture and very counter everything you were taught and how we just operate in life, most of us, I think. So that is, yeah, pleasure in that way is revolutionary.
Yes, yes. And you have just expressed a great quote, because actually if you're not feeling pleasure, you're actually doing it wrong, because then what are you doing it for?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You cannot be fully involved in something if it doesn't spark this curiosity, creativity, presence. And of course, it's important. Maybe you don't always want to send that email. We need both. We need the yin and the yang. We need the doing of the masculine energy, and we need the non-doing of the feminine energy. And my experience was that I was running only yang, 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 doing, focus forward. And it was in the moment that I leaned back into non doing that the whole space of the big picture opened to me experientially, physically, practically. I found more physical space inside my thoracic cavity to breathe when I leaned back. And we live in a hyper yang society. Even we women have become masculinized in that way. And a lot of men, we perform better than many men that paradoxically they have lost touch with their ability to lead and do and structure and be reliable. But the counterpart is equally important. We have the day and the night. And we, with this technology, with being able to turn on the light and turn on your computer at 3 in the morning, we bypass these natural cycles that are equally important. And I feel that this ability of enjoying moment by moment, the unfolding of your emails or whatever in a pleasurable way has to do with, in great way, giving yourself permission to inhabit that other polarity inside you, to let yourself to not be productive for a moment, for a lot of moments, to play a little bit, to reflect, to just see what comes up, to get curious about your sensations in the body, to not be structured, to be non-linear, to allow yourself to have a lot of unresolved conflicts in your life, to have a lot of open-ended questions, to have a lot of pending emails to answer, to behold that space of being undone and unresolved, because that is the space where we are actually unbound. And this spaciousness is what allows the counterpart of structure, framework, direction to be streamlined, in
Yeah.
a way to say.
Yeah. So, at what point would you say it really got good for you?
It have really gotten good for me from the moment on. I decided to assume my beauty and my strength. I not only gave myself permission, but I assumed that I am and that pleasure is there in my body and that I give myself permission. I provide myself with this self consent of delighting because you first have to claim ownership of you, of your body. Like I belong to me, I don't belong to my company. And you assume like you take ownership because it's important not to force yourself pleasure. On top of everything that we have to do and that we have to put up with as women, we don't need to, on top of everything, have
Yeah.
pleasure like
It's an obligation.
like an obligation. No, it's like it's there, but it's up to you. It's there already in your body, 24/7. But it's up to you to let it come forth. So it really shifted my whole life because the moment that I authorized myself to welcome pleasure as I am, with wrinkles, my age, my body shape, my lots of pending emails, my flaws, my mistakes, regardless of it all, I authorize myself to delight in pleasure and I assume my beauty. I am already. Yes, I'm gonna go to work because of my convictions and my work and what I believe it's important in this world.
Yeah.
But I am not going to move a finger to feel deserving of pleasure because that's a given already. And I authorize myself to delight in it. So yeah, things got good since I assumed my beauty and my strength as a woman. And I invite your audience to just get curious about how would it be and when would it be a good moment for them to assume their strength and their beauty as women.
What would you tell a woman who's struggling with assuming her beauty and authorizing her pleasure?
I would say to her, please let your body have the last word because that's how your bodily self will regain trust. Rest when you're tired. Only go as far as it's okay with you. See if you can let the dishes half washed to rest and explore letting your body have the last word because that's how you build safety through self consent. And then the cherry of the cake, once you trust your body and your body trusts you to speak with you with the sensations, once you let your body have the last word, see if you can let pleasure be your north star and follow it. See where it goes. Trust. It
See
will
where
lead
it
you to a great place
yeah.
because pleasure is how health feels life. And sensuality is how you express your own life force brimming through movement.
Wow. I I so resonate with everything you're sharing, Candia. Thank you so much. I'm curious if this chapter of your life, if this season had a title, what would it be?
Sensualizing the World Era.
Love that. Wow, I find your story so inspiring, and as a fellow Latin American that has also struggled with everything body related and body image and body confidence and sexuality and sensuality, I so agree that that's the only way forward for women. I think for humans, but especially for women, that deep embodiment and reconnection and coming, the only way back to ourselves and to come
Yes.
home is through our bodies and our sensuality. So thank you
Yes.
so much for
Yes.
sharing that with us. And I would really love to invite you to grab whatever drink you have with you because I would love to toast
Yes.
to you and every what is that tequila?
This is tequila, yes, of course. You told me a drink. I if it
I
was
love
like I thought a drink
okay.
like a drink, not like a tea or frappuccino, sexy mocha.
Oh, this is so fun.
Of course, it's tequila.
It had to be tequila. I cannot expect anything less from the Mexican sensualist. A toast to you, my dear, and to every single courageous, brave, sensual decision that led you here. Cheers to you and to how good it got.
Thank you, Majo, Salucita, and also cheers to you and to celebrate this great endeavor of this podcast. It's so important, and also cheers to your audience that is here. W-
Cheers to every woman out
Let's
there.
celebrate this.
Thank you so much. I really, really loved having you. I admire you as a woman, and as a professional, and love your power, love your sensuality. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me, Majo. Really, really, I feel very honored to be part of the first guests in your podcast. And I really wish this is a continuing project that brings you lots of satisfactions along the way.
Otherwise, why would I be doing it, right? What are you doing it for?
Exactly.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking forward to see how good it got.
Me too. Thank you, my
Yeah.
dear.
My pleasure.
And thank you, everyone, for listening to Tell Me How Good It Got. Stay tuned for the next story because, yes, it really does get good.